Well, a lot of issues to explore as we enter this festive season. I want to tell you about my guest joining me via Zoom because you do know that there's road safety issues to explore, security, and also some expenditure to come along with it. Let's bring in Head of Regulation, Inspection and Compliance at the National Road Safety Authority, Kwame Kodia-Tiahene. We also do have a CFO, Timothy Safo-Efum, who's the Public Relations Officer for the Ghana National Fire Service. We'll be sharing with you some tips on how you can also spend. Don't forget that security is also on the agenda. Dr. Adam Bonaa will help us with that, and we'll hear from economist and Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, who's joining us as well. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let's start with Mr. Tiahene on this, the issue about road safety. Many of the patrons there we've spoken to are concerned about their safety on the roads this season. What measures are you putting in place just to whip up that awareness amongst the drivers, as well as passengers who are using the roads this year?
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon to my friends on the line. Adams, it's good to have you on the other side. I think from the beginning of the year, we tried to improve upon our visibility and also our relationship with the operators, because ultimately we have the responsibility to bring down the numbers. But during festive seasons, as we have the early tide pending, that's every reason that we need to improve upon our visibility, because motorization often has increased, and when there's increased motorization, the risk to crashes appear to be high. There are a number of things we are doing to try to manage the trend. You would notice that from January to November this year, on a month-to-month basis compared to last year, there's been a steady decline in all the major indicators. But we do not have the luxury to go to sleep. We need to intensify these efforts. So top of my mind, first, we are increasing our visibility, our outreach programs at churches, marketplaces, at terminals, where we take the basic safety message to commuters and drivers. We remind them of the basic things we require of them, the fact that they must obey traffic regulations, drive safely, avoid needless overtaking, kill the speed, and manage driver fatigue. The second is that with the help of our inspectors, about 100 of them across country, we have improved upon pre-departure checks. So we have profiled about 150 terminals, and at these terminals, what we do is to ensure that vehicles leaving these terminals meet the minimum safety condition. The driver meets the minimum safety condition, and we engage the operators where there are gaps. We try to ensure that they are managed. During this season, historically, the core concerns we've had is driver fatigue and speeding. You notice throughout the year, we have been enforcing and trying to deal with the issue of maximum driving hours. So for long distance routes, some in excess of 500 kilometers or 8 hours, we are at a difficulty to allow one driver to run the journey. So we've been talking to operators about logbooks, the need to deploy 2 drivers to take mandatory rest and the likes. In the period leading to the festive seasons, we have deployed a number of mystery passengers, some of whom are volunteers, others are stakeholders who are on these routes. All they are required to do is to monitor driver behavior and ensure that they are taking their mandatory rest and changing over where the trip is in excess of 8 hours, and where there are breaches in real time, they get us informed. And through our network with the police, we are able to provide immediate remedial actions. At the end of the day, as some of the commuters have said, Christmas is a season for reunion. And top of our education to road users is that, I mean, we need to travel with the expectation to meet the family, to reflect on the year and project ahead. So there's no point taking very needless risk. For instance, it doesn't make any sense to drive at high speeds. And we tell them from all the studies we have done, if two vehicles leave Kumasi for Accra and one decides that I would speed, disregard all the speed limits and indulge in all the negative conduct, and the other decides to abide by regulations, drive within speed, all the evidence research we have done points out that the first driver will arrive, the second driver will arrive not later than 5 minutes. So all the risky choices we make, I mean, the amount of time that you are likely to save is just 5 minutes, and it doesn't help anybody to take such a risk for just 5 minutes, which you could even save if you plan your journey very well to avoid these lapses. We think that the education is going well. Our collaboration with the police and support, particularly from the media, has been quite instructive. It is our expectation that we'll keep the reduction on the ascendancy so that we can end the year on a high, reflect, and try to sustain the gains for 2023.
And I recall earlier this year, the Ghana Police Service announcing some measures where, of course, they would elect at least one of the passengers to keep the driver in check. How are you collaborating with the Ghana Police Service on that?
Our collaboration has been great because this discussion was based on the commuters or the long distance. I forgot to raise that, but haven't brought it up. Within the urbanized areas, so this year again, when you look at the numbers, you notice some improvement in motorcycle-related numbers or crashes. Today, in the city of Accra, we all bear witnesses that motor riders get to traffic intersections and they stop. And because of improvement in the way they use the road, we are beginning to see some reduction in motorcycle-related numbers. It is because we are working with the police on what they call police invisible eye and also police action against rider indiscipline. And it is beginning to yield some results. We've had reason to commend the IGP in recent weeks together with his team. And that's the sort of spirit we'll expect, that public sector institutions, duty bearers must find the opportunity to work together for a common purpose. At the end of the day, we are all at the mercy of the road, and we must commit to do more to improve the safety situation for our collective good. And the last 6 months to 1 year, I think that our relationship with the police has been very encouraging, and there's every reason for us to find means to sustain that.
We'll be exploring the data shortly, but I also want to bring in others. Let's speak to ACFO Timothy Asafo. Of course, we heard of that announcement. Controversial as though it may be, we need to get some explanations to that. So what we do know is that the National Fire Service is asking, be it a church or any organization that intends to do the bonfire night, to get certification. I don't know if I'm using the words right, from the fire service. ACFO, is there any clarity to that? And what's informing that position this time around?
Thank you very much. Yes, we realize that even though use of firecrackers is banned in Ghana, during this period, the use is on the ascendancy. And therefore, it is appropriate that we advise the public on the proper use of such materials so they don't result in the unwanted fires that we want to prevent. And that is why we issued our statement that if you want to do any occasion involving firecrackers, then you need to get in touch with the fire service so that we will be able to help you effectively manage the situation.
What would it change, by the way? Because many would say we've been using the crackers all these years.
Yes, we've been using the crackers all these years, but we are not using it appropriately. and therefore, in few instances, they result in either injury or they start fires, and that is why we want to this time ensure that the appropriate thing is done.
So take us through the process then. What would an organization, or say a group of people who are organizing Christmas fanfares, I mean, what would they require in either lighting or perhaps carrying out this exercise in terms of using the crackers?
So around this time, if you want to use any firecracker, you just need to get in touch with the fire service. We will assess the situation, whether we need to send you just men to help or we send a fire tender to be on standby. It is advisable that around this time, firecrackers are not used during the day because of the temperatures. It is advisable for the firecrackers to be used in the evening where you have temperatures coming down so that they don't result in fire outbreaks. And depending on the level of firecrackers you want to use, that is what will determine whether we send you men to guide you or we send a fire tender and the crew as well.
Beyond that, what more, policy measures are you putting in place to ensure that this Christmas festivity is free of any form of incident? Say an outbreak, which connects much more to your mandate.
So once we talk about firecrackers, let's get to cleaning of our environment. Most often, because we are in the season, we clear around our homes. And the next thing is to burn these bushes. What is happening is that every combustible material at this particular point in time is very dry. And therefore, once you start a fire, once we have the winds blowing, the embers are carried. And wherever they fall, they start another fire. So we advise the general public that within this period, even if you have cleared your home or your surroundings, do not burn the rubbish or the withered bush. Because if you burn, the likelihood of a fire starting within or beyond your locality is very, very high. And if you still need to burn, then you need to get in touch with the fire service to assist you in the burning so it doesn't result in another fire elsewhere. Again, because we are in the season, we tend to use a lot more electricity. Now we draw more power, and most often this power is drawn from just one socket by using extension board. Every socket has its strength or power within which power can be drawn from that socket. And so if you exceed the power that socket can withstand, what happens is that the insulator on the cable will melt. As soon as they melt, you have the positive and negative coming together and you start a fire in your home. So it is advisable for each and every one of us who need additional outlet to get in touch with a qualified electrician, and I repeat, qualified electrician, one that has been sanctioned or permitted by the Energy Commission to do electrical works. Such people are in a position to give you more sockets so that you can draw power to each and every one equipment that you want to use. Again, around this time, we put up what we call the Christmas tree with the lighting. Now, what is happening is that this lighting systems create heat, and heat is a source of fire. So if you light your Christmas tree, ensure that you don't leave the light on for a very long period of time. Sometimes you leave them the whole day, and for this, they will still be on. Once the heat is generated to a certain point, fire is the next in line. And so we should be very careful not to leave this lighting system on the Christmas tree on for a long period.
Okay. Again, we'll deal with a lot more. I just want to hear from Dr. Adam Bonaa as well, because in as much as we're thinking of fire safety, there's also the issue about security. Dr. Bonaa, here we are, many people traveling, some may even go on long vacations. What's your expectation, first of all, in terms of personal security, and then we'll tackle the issue about the Ghana Police Service.
Yes, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the other speakers, Mr. Kodia. Mr. Kodia. Yes, with regards to security, I will say this is the time where you want to preferably say it is a period where you have a very large migration, where people move either inter-country or people move inter-community. And so this is the time people tend to spend a bit more than expected. This is also the time people tend to have a bit of drinks, alcoholic beverages, and this is the time people tend to leave home to go have parties and the rest and elsewhere. And in so doing, sometimes their state of alertness, diminishes, reduces significantly. And this is the time, per the statistics and per data over the years collected, people who have never been robbed gets robbed, because then you would have moved from a certain rented apartment to a new apartment, or you would have moved from one apartment into another apartment you have just built. It means that you are moving into an area that you are not very familiar with. And so you move and you join people, and you don't know who is good, who is bad. And so the advice to, those who are living in their homes, if you are going to leave home for parties, you are going to leave home for church, overnight church services and activities, parties, kindly, if you can, purchase for yourself, if you don't already have one. I have advised that get yourself a rechargeable or a battery-powered radio device. Some of these Bluetooth devices are rechargeable. You leave them on. Just leave them on. A bit of noise within the room, or if it's a house, the house. The idea is that when someone jumps into your yard or someone comes in, it's difficult for the person to determine whether you are in there or you are not in there, but there's radio. It gives, some amount of deterrence. It gives some time for that whoever it is to be so daring to say, I'm going to break in, especially when you know the way those petty thieves who use popular stock, they will cut your window and try to steal. But when they know you are in there, they are a bit careful. Chances are that it's a 50-50 chance that they will not attempt stealing from you. The other thing is some people have security systems, electronic security systems they've installed, and they've never checked them because they've never been victims of robbery or stealing. This is the time you want to check and make sure you trigger everything, test run everything to make sure they are working. Because this is the time the bad guys get out there to, hit at people. And their other advice is that let's have the 18555, the police emergency number, the 18555. Have it on your speed dial. Put it on number 1. If you have an emergency, you press on it, it goes straight to the police control room. Get the fire service, do the same, on probably speed dial too. If you do that, chances are that if you encounter an emergency situation, you don't have to think hard and, lose your memory, and you will be able to press 1, you will remember 1 or 2, and then it will call the control room. And this is also the time the traveling public, you go to, the circle area, you have vehicles that are parked with people filled in there, and someone would get down and put his bag on the seat or in the vehicle and check out and get down to go buy something and come back and the bag is gone, and probably the other passengers are gone with the bag. So this is the time your state of alertness of the traveling public and communities should be, very heightened. The police is everywhere, but the truth is that, just like Mr. Kodia was talking about, the police working in collaboration with, probably citizens and organizations like the fire service and the, safety authority, the road safety authority, have brought down accidents and the rest. But the truth is that they cannot be everywhere. You need the community to help them to reduce crime, to reduce accidents and incidents of fire and the rest. So I would say that people should be alert at home, be alert whilst you are out there. Don't carry with you large sums of money. It's needless to carry large sums of money. Now we have mobile electronic devices, for payments and everything. You can literally buy pure water with your mobile phone. So don't carry large sums of money. You are going into a church. This is the time, sometimes churches also get, buckled. You go into a church, everybody is dancing and jumping. You leave your bag with your phone and everything in the bag. You get out, you want to go and put 10 CDs in the collection bowl. You come back, your bag is sitting there, but the actual content of the bag, gone. So people should be alert. Don't leave your bag, your handbag on a seat whilst you are dancing. Tag it around you, hang it around you tight, dance, do your collection, donation and all that.
Right.
And make sure you are watching everybody, or else you will get home and realize your room or your house has been broken into, or the content of your bag completely gone.
Okay, very quickly,
So
let's touch on the aspects of police visibility.
Okay, so with regards to police visibility, the good thing is that now you can see them everywhere. And I'm just, I just left the center of town into the neighborhood I find myself now. And, motorcyclists, vehicles are obeying the road traffic regulation. And it's heartwarming that 1 year from where we've come from, the police has improved significantly. You see them in pairs, you see them on their motorcycles, and making sure that everybody seems to be behaving well. Visibility is good, but I can urge that probably a lot more resources should go into them so we can find them in our communities. At the moment, they are on major highways, but if you look at the police-citizen ratio, it's still woefully inadequate. And so we will find them in the center of town, but we also need them in our city centers. We need them in our communities, the local communities. We need them to be everywhere. And we can only do that if probably, I know that government has just, there's been some recruitment and ongoing recruitment, which is good. But the numbers are still not good. If the numbers can be improved, hopefully 12 months from today, if the numbers can go up to about, add 20,000 or 10,000 more police officers, I think that we will find a lot more police officers in town. But I must say, 12, starting from last year, December up to today, crime rate per the statistics and what I've collected has reduced to about 80% from where we came from. It means that those who used to hit at us are still with us, but they are not able to, come after us. We can only probably work with the police and make sure that we praise them when they do well, critique them if probably things are not going well. But for now, I would say Mr. Kodia and his people at the road safety are doing very well. Even the fire service, they are also significantly doing well. Some time ago, fire incidents were very rampant. That has also dropped. Criminals were hitting at us almost every day. That has dropped. Accidents were so rampant. That has also dropped. So I think that the collaboration is working. Police visibility, superb. And so let's see more of what let's see more. And we are expecting more from the police, if you ask me.